Welcome to Inside the Castle, the podcast that goes behind castle doors to have real conversations with real people about solving the nation's toughest challenges.
I'm your host today, Angie Fryermuth.
And I'm Emily Chavoya.
In this episode, we are continuing our series showcasing the Lean Six Sigma Excellent Award winners. Today, we're joined by Ozzy Orwick, a USACE Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, to talk about an enterprise-wide solution for the Department of Defense Performance Management and Appraisal Program, otherwise known by the civilians as DPMAP. So thank you, Ozzy, for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Before we go too much further, we always like to get to know our guests. So Ozzy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role within USACE?
Sure. So my current role, I'm the HR Data Director at Headquarters USACE in the Directorate of Human Resources. I've run or the Program Manager for the People Analytics function. We're responsible for creating all the dashboards that folks may be familiar with. Prior to that, I've held several different positions within USACE. Started at the New Orleans District in 2009 and spent some time in the G6 and also at MVD. But throughout my kind of journey of USACE, Lean Six Sigma and the Business Process Improvement Program has been one of the key threads that's really helped me, understand the organization and improve processes that I either was, an owner of or had a direct relationship with. So it's been a lot of fun to implement projects at all, different levels of the organization and see the improvements come out of them.
All right, thanks, Ozzy. So earlier this month, we sat down with Kevin Fouquet for a quick overview of the Lean Six Sigma Excellence Award Program. And during that discussion, he brought up the DPMAP Status Dashboard Project. So walk us through this project.
Yeah, so in a previous episode, you learned about the project that was completed at the New Orleans District to improve DPMAP compliance, and that project resulted in a local DPMAP reporting status dashboard that was eventually, grown to be used across the MVD region. At that time, I actually worked for MVD and later came into my current position at headquarters and knew that, coming into HR and DPMAP, lives within the framework of the HR portfolio, that this was a great opportunity to replicate a project that had seen success at both the, district and division level and expand it to an enterprise project and eventually an enterprise dashboard and tool. So that was the approach that we took, just to leverage the goodness that kind of had bubbled up from, the offices in the New Orleans district and expand that scope to the complete enterprise.
Good. I always get excited when we take a look at previous projects that we've improved and build upon those for the good of the enterprise. So with any process improvement project, I know that there's a problem statement. So what was the problem statement for this particular project?
So the problem statement for this particular project was similar to what was developed at the New Orleans district. And basically, it was just that the status reports that were required to do DPMAP reporting were taking too long. The DPMAP super users at each of the districts, were spending 6 to 10 hours a week, sometimes more than that, depending on where you were in the rating cycle of DPMAP, to complete their status reports and to communicate with their supervisors and to make sure that their districts were in compliance. So this project was really just focused on taking that singular problem statement from the New Orleans district, applying it to the enterprise, and then creating a tool that would be useful and secure for all of USACE.
Okay, so then what were the steps you took to identify where to tighten up the process and procedures to get to your desired end state?
Yeah, so the same process that was developed for the New Orleans district was implemented for the enterprise project. There was some other concerns that we had to take into account because we were, working on a tool that could be viewed by anyone within the enterprise, right? The things that we really focused on were data security and being able to provide the appropriate level of data needed to the right people. So through the project, we work through the security requirements that would be required for us to be able to make sure, only the certain people that needed to see the data could see the data. And we work through our HR channels at headquarters, through our strategic advisors that are in each of the MSCs and centers and labs to be able to define what those user requirements were and then put a process in place to ensure that the data was secure.
And I know when we're talking data security and just in general IT requirements, there's always challenges. So what was the biggest challenge and then how did you overcome those challenges?
Sure. Well, in this particular instance, the IT part of it, right, the tool part of it, which we ended up developing this dashboard in Microsoft Power BI, that was the easy piece. The hard piece was the culture change, right? So people were used to getting those DPMAP status reports delivered to their inbox on a reoccurring basis. They were used to going back to their HR point of contact to get updated reports or get changes to the reports or get reports more often when they needed them, depending on where we are in the rating cycle. So that was the hardest thing, was to get people to buy into the new process, to understand that you're going to have a tool that's going to be available to you whenever you need it. That data is going to be refreshed daily instead of you getting a weekly or monthly report, and you'll be able to have all of the filtering and metrics calculated for you, and some other tricks and features within the dashboard that should make it easier for you to get to the data that you need to ensure you're compliant. So once we kind of got over that hurdle of saying, okay, you're not going to be getting a spreadsheet anymore, you're going to go to this dashboard and be able to filter the data, find those performance plans that haven't been completed, or if we were at the end of the rating cycle, those appraisals that hadn't been completed, and easily export that data so that you could share it with your offices. Once we made that transition, everything kind of fell into place, and think that, from the feedback that we've heard over the past year and a half or so, has all been positive, and people really like the product and do find it more useful. And the refresh schedule of being able to look at the data each morning is great during those key milestones of the DPMAP cycle.
So how is this improvement being measured?
Well, at this point, I think, we have a standard business process, and we're not really doing much measurement other than we can now provide those compliance metrics much more readily. And we have seen an increase or an improvement to our DPMAP compliance metrics, which I think can be contributed to the availability of the dashboard and folks in the field using it to monitor their progress.
As a USACE black belt, I know that you have been part of several process improvement projects. And so I just want to pick your brain for a minute and ask you for a piece of advice that you could give to USACE staff who have been charged with improving a process or just improving something within the organization.
Yeah, I think my biggest recommendation would be to kind of trust the methods of Lean Six Sigma and follow through with them. Not every project requires the use of the DPMAP process, but a lot of the tools that are embedded in that process are very valuable. And really just trusting those tools, following through with them. Whether it's doing your stats calculations so that you can identify your biggest opportunity for areas of improvement, or doing your process flow mapping, your SIPOC, whatever it is. All of those methods really do help you get to an end product or an end process that are going to provide value to the organization. So trust the tools that Kevin Fuqua and his training staff teach us, because you will see results.
All right. And how can our listeners learn more about this project?
So the DPMAP metrics report is just one of many dashboards that the people analytics team has developed and implemented at headquarters. So if you want to learn more about DPMAP, or you want to learn more about other people analytics products, I would highly recommend that you head over to the knowledge management portal. And if you go to the human resources page, there's a There's a people analytics button right on the homepage that you can click on there that'll take you to our dashboard page. There you'll find the suite of tools that we have. They're all aligned to the USACE people strategy pillars of the employee life cycle. There's a fact sheet out there where you can learn more about each of the tools, to include the DPMAP status report. And we also have a feedback form. So if you have questions, you can click on a button and fill out a form and get support from our team.
So Ozzy, thank you for being here today. And Emily and I want to thank you and congratulate you and your team for doing this project and helping USACE be better. So thank you again for joining us today for this edition of Inside the Castle. We appreciate you and your insights. Until next time, be safe, be innovative, and always strive for excellence.
Thanks for joining us for this Inside the Castle podcast. To provide your feedback, email us at cw.infrastructure.team@usace.army.mil. Stay tuned for additional Inside the Castle podcasts as we explore life inside the Corps and revolutionize civil works together.